This is how to make a fidget triple spinner ring. So you're going to measure out your band size, but you're going to want to add 4 to it just because of the width. And then you're going to measure it out 3 more times on the same piece of wire that you currently have, because it's triple spinner. So yeah, and then try to keep the metal flat and unbent while you do this. Otherwise, you're going to get some kind of wonky looking circles, if that makes sense. Yeah. Now that you have your measured pieces, go ahead and take them to the hydraulic shears and like cut them. Make sure that they are on the line. Otherwise, you're going to have 3 uneven circles, which is not going to be the greatest for your ring. This next part is going to take a little bit of practice. What you're going to do is you're going to take your now cut pieces of whatever wire metal you choose, and you're going to roll them on the belt sander and try to make a little spear or tip at the end. It'll make it easier. Sorry. It'll make it easier for you to file and solder together at the end, like when you're forming your rings, just because you already have like a smooth base and you already have part of your angles that you're going to need. And it overall just made it so much easier for me on the many attempts that it took me to make this ring at like in class. The multiple attempts were different failures of trying to figure out how to get those spears. Now that you've gotten your speared off-ended pieces of metal, you're going to want to hammer them around the mandrels. I only show me doing one here, but you're going to want to do that to all 3 of them because you are making a ring. And make sure you get it like as close as you can here. And then even if it's not like completely flat, you can always hammer it down on the table, and then you can use tools to close them up a little bit and make them just prettier and easy and like better closed, I guess. It You have to be a little bit patient with yourself and see. There's a tool that I'm talking about. It's a half crescent. You can bend it into place. You can and make sure it's like going the right way. But it just makes closing the ring so much easier if you can't close it all the way the first time with the hammer and the mandrel. Here is where you're going to want to be patient with yourself. It is very tedious and honestly kind of sucks, but you have to take the squared off ended full flat file and sand down the tips of the spears that you created. I know you're probably thinking, why did I create the spear? It's just easier so that you already have those angles, and all you have to do is file down and flatten it so that it becomes easier for you to solder and close at the very end. And it honestly makes it just easier in general when trying to do this, because you already have like a basis and you don't have to add in an angle. You just have to make it a little bit flatter, and then when you have to open and close them for soldering and putting the rings all together, overall just easier. And what I found to be like the best, air quotes best solution. I tried multiple different ways of like filing at different angles, filing flat, filing. This was the only one that really worked for me, so that's why I'm telling you guys to do this way. Here's another section where you have to be like patient with yourself. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna open your rings and you're gonna put 2 of them together. And then you're gonna close that first one, and then one of your rings will stay completely intact. Then you open your 3rd ring and you have to put it through the joint of your 2 rings that you already just had together. And that is what creates the rolly effect, so that it can roll up and down your finger seamlessly without being too lumpy and awkward. Be patient and don't mess this up because this is where you can mess up. Okay, so now you're going to solder. You're going to put the white safety seal flux on, and then the sound's a little like counterintuitive, but you're going to open the ring a teeny bit just so you can get the piece of solder in between, because you're not going to use the syringe. You're going to use hard solder for all of these, and you have to put it in between the joint on all three so that it melts, and then it melts outwards instead of like trying to balance it and then have it seep down. If you have it just like in between in the joint, it'll melt so much easier and so much more efficiently. Again, other ways I've tried, failed. This is the only one that worked for me. If you have another way to do it, go ahead. This is what worked for me, and hopefully it works for you too. So these next two steps are going to be like really quick. So you're going to drop it into the pickle juice, and I let it sit for about 5 minutes. Anything longer and the metal is like overly pink and like overly clean, I don't know, that's just what I did. 5 to 10 minutes is about all you need for it, and then you want to drop it in the water once it's out just to like kind of clean it off a little bit. I don't know, that's what I did, so hopefully it works. Now you're going to sand it with the Dremel or the rotary tool, whichever one you know it by. And you're really just going to sand the outsides, but not too much, just a little bit. They're already pretty clean, and you've already gotten most of the burning off of it from the solder by dropping it in the pickle juice, but just a little bit like to clean up mostly just to clean up your soldering. If it's like a little bumpy or a little uneven, that's why you want to use the rotary tool. You can go around the whole thing, you cannot, it's up to you. It's your personal preference really, but mostly just make sure you clean up your soldering because that's what's most important. And then once you have Dremeled it, you can drop it into the tumbler to make it shiny, and there you go. It might be a little small, might be a little big, but now you have a fidget ring and it works. So there is your how-to on a triple fidget ring. Enjoy!